So, welcome, Stephen. Many people will already know you because of your whole Tiferet tarot and the tarot thoughts and so on that you post, which I think
Mhm.
that's the same sort of background where you normally post your tarot thoughts.
Yeah.
So, don't really need to introduce you much, but perhaps just to say, your deck, some people in America and Canada already have it, the lucky things, but us over here in the UK don't have that good fortune yet to have got hold of the Spirit Within tarot.
I
Uh,
might be the only person in the UK that has a copy. I don't know. Quite likely.
as far as I'm aware, because I've had mine on pre-order for blooming ages and it isn't here yet.
I know it's frustrating.
Yes, well, I'm used to, I saw people getting the Celtic Lenormand way before I even had. They didn't send me a prototype deck the way that they've
All right.
sent you one. I didn't get that until everyone else got theirs, kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
So,
Well, it's just
yes.
how it goes these days. I think this isn't the first time I've seen this happen, so you
Yeah.
kind of almost come to expect it, but it doesn't mean that it's not disappointing
And a bit
when it happens.
frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least, on the exciting front, quite a few people this week have actually started blogging with the Spirit Within tarot.
Yeah.
So that's quite nice for everyone else to kind of see it and get excited and so on. So,
It's really strange because I said to somebody yesterday, those images have been on the computer now for probably 3 or so years. Um, so to see them elsewhere in Brooklyn and the Netherlands and in these places popping up, it's just really strange for me, and I almost feel a little bit distanced from it really because it's just a surreal thing,
yeah.
you know.
And I guess also because, it's something where you handed everything over quite a while back. And so the
Yeah,
time in between, it's like you almost sort of forget about it and then suddenly it's
yeah.
there.
And then it's all here. Yeah, it is strange.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of, where you are right now. How about we go back a little bit into the past? And
Oh,
at the UK Tarot Conference, you sort of mentioned the fact that the first deck that you really got into was the Rurik Tarot, which is a bit of a non-traditional one. Can you
yeah,
tell us a bit about that?
yeah. I mean, we're going back now to late 90s, which is when I first found my first tarot deck, which wasn't actually the Rorig. It was it doesn't actually have a name. It's just a tarot set that was by Jonathan D. and Shirley Barker, and it was a very spontaneous purchase in a supermarket. I hadn't intended to buy tarot. I didn't have any history with the tarot. But after I'd bought that and became more interested, I spoke to somebody else and they said, you really need to go and buy a deck that resonates with you. So this girl she was just a friend of a friend, she was a housemate of this guy I knew, took me into London and we went to Mysteries in Covent Garden, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
And it was the most wonderful, magical experience. These days so many people buy decks online and that's a great thing, but I don't think anything compares to that first time in a shop when you're going through the photo album of the samples and you're using a friend almost, aren't you? Something that you're going to spend a lot of time with. The Rorig was obviously in that book. I don't remember what else was there. I think I know there was a Chinese style deck, probably one of the US game ones. There's another one. I always forget the name of the other deck that was there, but the Rogue was the one that I kept going through and coming back to, and then moving away from, and coming back to. And it was the Devil card because the guy in the Devil had such piercing eyes, and I just kept going back to it, and I just kept thinking, this is the one I've got to leave with. Like, I can't leave this shop without this. So that's where it all started.
Lovely. And so you then read for that or with that deck exclusively for quite a while, is that right?
Yeah, quite a few years. I don't think I didn't start my deck buy-in for quite a long time after that. For one, I didn't have the internet at that
Yeah.
time, so I didn't know what beauties were out there. And at that time, there wasn't as much as we see today, and it wasn't in all of the bookshops like we see them today. So yeah, I read for just friends at home,
Yeah.
stumbled through with the Little White Book and the cards, but then also I had the Shirley Barker book as well, or the Jonathan Dee book rather, and his book really focused on weight meanings, and obviously Rorik was very Thoth based, but I didn't know what those things were, so it wasn't the easiest
marriage
beginnings into tarot.
Yeah, because that's something else that I wondered, having had that start with the Rurig, that you then didn't kind of go down the Thoth path, or did you just never realise that it was a Thoth deck?
I didn't realise. The second deck that I bought was the Russian Tarot at St. Petersburg, and I found that in a sale in North London. And I think I kind of looked at the two and realised that they weren't the same kind of thing. And then after that, I think my whole tarot journey kind of stepped up after that, and I bought the Art Nouveau Tarot by Matt Myers, and I started to see the stories in the cards then, and that's where it all took a leap. So by that point, I was really on the Rider-Waite-Smith wagon, and that's kind of where it went. But I did dip into Thoth later on.
Just it never really became your passion, because some people, Thoth then becomes, that's it, the one.
It was certainly an interest to me. I bought the books. I've got quite a few books here on Thoth tradition, and I bought other decks within that tradition. But I think I probably enjoyed the narrative of the Rider-Waite-Smith decks more, because I could build those stories up and see those characters. Whereas I felt that the Thoth, how can I put it, almost kind of lacked movement. Do you know what I mean? You could kind of see the stories, you could see things happening and the flow between the cards, where the Thoth, where it had those moody minors, but they're staid, And I appreciated the beauty and I loved them for that. But in terms of my own personal reading style, I felt that Rider-Waite-Smith worked that little bit more for me.
No, I can understand that. So I'm guessing probably I can imagine what the answer is to this next question, but what is your current favourite reading deck?
All right. Well, what do you imagine it might be?
I imagine it might be the Spirit Within Tarot.
Actually, it's not.
Really?
It's really strange. I mean, I've been using that deck in readings, and I used a fair, not at this actual version. I used the prototype version that I put together some years back. But at the moment, it's the. I should unveil it, shouldn't I? Really?
Yeah.
Actually, I know I've read your review or heard your review on this deck. It's the Fountain at the moment.
Oh, right, okay.
Which is an interesting deck for me, because it was a gift, and it took me quite a lot of time to really bond with it and connect with it, and I feel at the moment that I really am enjoying the process of getting to know the cards all of this time down the track. So
yeah. Once again, that's quite a Thothy sort of deck.
Well, do you know what? I was thinking about this, and it's almost a little bit like going back to the start again. Because I understand the tarot images now, but there's quite a lot of magic in those paintings, and there's a lot of room for me to be imaginative and tell stories with them, and they're really, really dripping in emotion and pain and everything, and I think for me it's like going a bit full circle, if that makes sense.
It does, absolutely, yeah, and I can really imagine that. And it's interesting as well, because in some ways, I don't know if this is off the top of my head, but I have a feeling like the colour palette is also quite similar between the Rurig and the Fountain. It's those cooler blues and that kind of thing.
It has quite a masculine feel too. I think, thinking about it now, if I'd walked into Mysteries all those years ago and something like the Fountain Tarot had been in there, I probably would have picked it up.
Yeah.
Because I think that I liked the magic, not the Roig, I've got the Roig here. I liked the magical feel of the Roig, but I also liked the almost photo-real images as well. And you could say the same about the Fountain Tarot.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. And in some ways as well, actually, both of them are a little bit reminiscent of like your Fragments tarot deck.
Yeah, I'd forgotten all about that one.
I hadn't. I was always a little bit envious of the one person who did get a prototype along with you of that one.
Yeah, well, I mean, I really would like to have done something with that. I'd really like to do something with it still,
Hmm.
but because those images came from magazines and I found snippets online and what have you, it just isn't something I could do, probably down to copyright. I don't know
Yeah,
what the copyright is with collages these days, but I'm sure someone would have something to say somewhere along the line.
they might do. Could be a bit complicated yet.
Tom Daly, maybe. Because I think he's the only famous person in there in that,
Right.
but he might have something to say.
Yeah. The fragments within I can't remember the exact name. So the fragments tarot,
Of an illusion.
fragments
Yeah,
of an illusion. That was, I think, the first tarot deck that you actually completed.
yeah.
Even though, as you say, you can't kind of do anything specifically with it. So then, can you sort of talk us through a little bit the ideas behind the Spirit Within tarot? Because that's its name now, isn't it? It was originally Spirits Within the
Yeah.
Shadows.
Yeah, one of the things that I remembered from Caitlin and John Matthews' talk at the conference a year back was because they was talking about publishing tarot decks, and one of the things they said was about not having too long or too complicated of a title.
Yeah.
And throughout the time of Spirit Within, people would say, "Oh, Spirit Within" or "Shadows Within," and I just kind of thought, it really needs to just be that little bit more punchy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why it's called what it is.
Okay.
And I quite like that because you can look at it in two ways.
Mm.
It's like the spirit within tarot, but it's like spirit within tarot as well. And
Yeah.
there's more than one way of saying it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if we go back to Fragments was the first deck I completed, and I tried so many times prior to that to create a deck, and it would be 3 images or 10 images or 20 images, and then I would kind of run out of the momentum.
Yeah.
So when I got to Fragments and I got 78 images done over a matter of, I suppose, quite a few months,
Yeah.
I thought, I've done that now, I can do it again. And I didn't really plan to do it again until it came to my starting up a new blog for Tiferet Tarot and thinking about how I was going to illustrate it, because I knew that if I used other decks that are out there a lot, I could infringe on copyright. So a friend of mine said to me, well, why don't you just create some? And I had one image of a silhouette that I'd drawn. It was the Five of Cups from Spirit Within. And I thought, well, I could maybe work with that if I can ever find the picture in the file on my Mac, which is full of so much stuff. And that's where it started. And at that point, I still didn't have any intention of publishing it. But once the pictures started going up on the blog, people would start saying, oh, is this deck for sale? Can I buy this deck? And I'd say, well, no, not really. It's just there for illustrative purposes. But then the more that happened, I started thinking, no, maybe there's something in this. And I thought that I might self-publish, because I've seen so many people, yourself included, that have done that. And I ended up going through Printer Studio.
Yeah.
But as you know, a good few years back, I showed you a copy, and I wasn't happy with the colours, and I knew that it would need to be rejigged. And
Though you still ended up having to rejig it all for Schiffer, I believe.
I did, but that was kind of more down to me being perfectionistic and wanting to get it exactly how I wanted it. And now I look at that deck, the colours just look perfect. I don't think I could have ever achieved. Oh, you there?
Yes, I'm back.
I would have ever achieved it the way that I wanted it if I'd gone to Printer Studio.
Yeah.
Mainly just down to my lack of knowledge of what I was doing.
Yeah. I think it's tricky because, with the Printer Studio, it's all on screen, and it's that very, you have the bright screen behind and the differences in the colours and what have you, and it comes back very, very differently to how you sort of see it there. So
yeah, I didn't want the colours to be too primary. I wanted them to have a nice muted feel to them. But when they came back from Printer Studio, as much as they were okay, they looked very muddy. So the browns and the oranges, you could almost not see a difference between the two.
Whereas now you've differentiated quite subtly, even between sort of very blend and tone type colours.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I'm really happy with how it's come out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of my main reasons for not wanting to self-publish as well is I didn't want to be doing all of the send-in and the legwork, that kind of
All
thing
the
didn't really
trips
appeal
to
to me.
the post office and
And handling, if there's any problems as well, I didn't want to be the person that had to be responsible for all of that. So it's quite nice to pass that over somewhere else.
yes, yeah, I could quite understand that. And has this opened up any other doors for you, tarot wise?
In what sense?
Well, I guess, has it opened up any other projects, or what else have you got going on at the moment?
At the moment, things are actually quite quiet. After Spirit had been finished, obviously I had to write the little book that went with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I think I've spoken to you before about a contract with a smaller publisher over here. And I think that they work with a publisher in America,
Uh-huh.
well, to write a how-to book. And that's done here. So that's
Whoa.
all done.
Yay. So when will that be coming out?
I really don't know at the moment. I've kind of sent it away and said, let me know the next step when it happens.
Yeah.
So that's finished. The conference is finished, which was something that took up a lot of my brain.
Yeah.
So really, at the moment, it's kind of strange to say I don't have much on.
Well, I mean, other than the day to day,
Other than the day-to-day, other than the readings and the mentoring, that kind of thing, I don't have any big deadlines. I had some articles I had to write, and some are a little bit further in the future, so I don't have to worry about them quite yet.
Okay.
And the other ones have been sent off. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's a strange thing because whenever you've got all of these things that you have to do, you want to be doing anything else. You want to be, I want to do something really, really creative. And now I've got the opportunity to do those things. I'm not doing them. So,
Well, maybe you just need a little break. And I mean, there's the whole
yeah,
Christmas coming up and everything. So there's that to think about as well.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's nice to have a break.
Mhm. And what about, in the past, you've also done sort of tarot accessories, so to speak. Like, I think you did some tarot shoes, and of course, you did some lovely little, what do you call them? Padded tarot pouches.
Yeah. I actually had one right here. It's really strange you're saying all this because I found one in the cupboard this morning that I didn't realise I still had.
Oh, right.
The Oriental version here.
Uh-huh.
Because it might be quite nice to go with
Yeah.
But yeah, those things I kind of left very much on the side, but because of the amount of time that it took
Yeah.
to sit and make them.
Yes.
But I do have other things that I want. There's other things brimming in my head at the moment.
Okay. Would you care to share any of those?
Well, they're still really kind of like ideas at the moment, but I do have like one idea, but I think it would be more oracle based
Right. Mm-hmm.
than tarot, and I think it would be very, very different to what I've created already. The style would be very different.
Uh-huh.
It's been really great doing the stuff with the tarot, but I kind of feel at the moment it'd be really nice to do something completely imaginative, that's not structured in the same kind of way.
Yeah.
And I think an oracle would really, really fit with that.
Well, I mean, you've written in your blog in the past about how, sometimes you just get a little bit of almost like a tarot burnout, and then it's really good to turn to oracles for a while, and just it, changes up your focus, changes up your perspective, even, reading for clients and so on as well.
Yeah, definitely. And a whole different style as well, something that's completely different to what people associate with me with the Spirit deck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because, we also talked in the past about the fact that you sort of consider yourself more of a designer than an artist. Would that be true to say?
Yeah, definitely. I like to draw and I like to paint, but I mean, I wouldn't consider myself to be a trained artist, especially not in comparison to a lot of the people that are out there, So I kind of feel it's safer to say designer than artist.
Though, those of us who have absolutely no skills in this, it's like, But what you do is really, really artistic.
I think, it's weird sometimes, I have like a vision of something, an idea of how I want it to be, and then I think about what would be the best way for me to do that. Would it be through drawing on the screen? Would it be through painting? Would it be through collage? And then I kind of find that thing that fits and bring it all together. And of course, some of it's to do with time as well. How much time do I have to invest in a project?
Yeah. So at the moment, you're kind of taking it easy. Is there anything else that you're feeling particularly inspired by?
I mean, in terms of this whole Oracle deck, that part of that I see as being, a book that goes with it as well. So it might be poetry, it might be short stories or something like that. I really like the idea of making something that people can really personalize and make their own. So maybe some kind of oracle which has a structure to it, but maybe allows them to really use their intuition. So anybody can pick that up, and you don't have to have tarot background, or it's not necessarily a tarot deck. I'm kind of thinking something a little bit like Chiro's Oracle Visions. That take it how you want to take it and go with it where you want to go. So
lovely.
It might be that I kind of just create a book which has some kind of something that's quite stimulating, but not telling you this is how it works.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
And do you have any other sort of thoughts about things that you want to do next year, say? So looking a little bit longer term?
God, I haven't actually looked that. I kind of, with all the stuff that I've been doing this year, I saw myself moving up to October, and once October was over, I didn't know what was on the other side of the life. So, and that's quite nice as well, because I'm kind of open to ideas. I did speak to somebody about working on the summer school with Ethany, which is something that I've been asked to do a couple of times and was unable to do just because I had so much of the stuff on, and I wanted to give it as much attention as I could. But I think if I did something like that, that would probably be creatively based.
Sounds exciting. Lovely. Yeah. Well, I shall look forward to seeing whether or not that comes off, and where else you go with that. And yes, if people are interested in sort of following the things with the Oracle that you're sort of considering, at least at the moment, do you think that's going to be on the Tiferet Tarot blog, or where would people find that?
Everywhere, probably. I mean, once I've decided what I'm going to do, and if somebody wants to publish that, then I'll probably start to show a little bit here and there. But at the moment, I guess I need to really find out if anyone wants to publish it first. So that means that at the moment I'm creating some images, and I have created some images which I'm happy with. I've shown to a few friends, and they're interested in them too. So we will see.
Okay, and can you give us any
That's very mysterious, doesn't it?
It does. Can you give us any teasers about like what kind of medium it is in?
It's a really strange. What I've been working with lately has been really strange, because I've been using collage, physical, cutting out bits of paper and making collages, and then I've been taking them into the computer and then changing them around so you get a completely different feel. And I think anybody who has been following me on Instagram or Facebook will see that some of the branding that I've been doing there has been quite antique looking. I'm quite interested in this very kind of old antique fortune telling kind of vibe, so a little bit old curiosity shop. Whereas with Spirit Within we have this very brash, modern, contemporary look. I think this would satisfy people who wanted something that looked a little bit more antique. So yeah,
sounds lovely.
That kind of thing, that kind of old, worn, age-looking cards.
Okay, it kind of makes me think of some of your sort of trips to Highgate Cemetery and the atmospheric images that you took there.
Yeah. I mean, we see a lot of that kind of stuff around, but I think there's still a gap for something like that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think people quite like that. I think they like that magical side of reading as
Yeah.
well.
Sounds fascinating. Well, I
Something you
shall.
find in Grandma's attic, maybe. That's kind of the
Uh-huh.
vibe.
That sounds lovely. Well, thank you ever so much for taking the
You're
time to
very
chat
welcome.
with me today, Stephen. It's lovely
You're
to
welcome.
hear all about that stuff. And good luck with all of your future projects.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.